Next tonight, gang warfare in Chicago. Crime, drugs, and gangs go hand in hand. But now the gangs are trying to end the violence in one Chicago community. Elizabeth Brackett reports.
Cabrini Green, notorious for being one of the most dangerous housing projects in the country. Last October, the shooting death of 7-year-old Dontrell Davis as he walked the 100 yards from his building to his school hand in hand with his mother epitomized the violence Chicago Housing Authority residents faced every day. Schoolmates of Dontrell Davis, like 10-year-old Senku Selvi, were terrified walking to school.
That made me scared because, I gotta, walk down the long way instead of walking the short way. Because you never know, if somebody can shoot you with a bullet, and a bullet don't got no eye.
But today, things are different at Cabrini Green. Very different. Since Dontrell Davis's death, there have been no gang-related murders in Cabrini Green. There have not even been reports of gang-related gunfire. In the first 6 months of this year, police reports show crime down 24% over last year.
Now, God, it is clear to everybody that when we said that we wanted unity and peace, brothers and sisters on this north side wasn't faking.
Community leaders like Marion Stamp say much of the credit for the drop in crime should go to gang leaders who negotiated a peace treaty last October. Stamp's group, the Tranquility Marksman Memorial Organization, threw a party for leaders who 9 months ago would never have been found in the same room.
The fact that we resolve our differences at the table, or we resolve our differences in communicating with each other, and not resolving these differences with a gun is why we're here today.
After the speeches came awards. Longtime rivals followed each other up to the stage.
To Frederick Watson, thank you for the role that you played in maintaining the peace in the hood, brother.
On behalf of the Traveling Vice Lord Nation, I'd just like to say, you know what I'm saying, we're going to stick with the peace, you know what I'm saying, 110%. No violence. Stop the peace, brothers.
Fred Watkins grew up in Cabrini, went to junior college for 2 years on a basketball scholarship, then returned. Now he is an outreach worker for Stamp's Tranquility Marksman organization in Cabrini. He is effective because he is also the leader or chief of the Traveling Vice Lords, a citywide gang with Cabrini members.
Before the peace on a Saturday night, or what did it sound like down here?
Wild, Wild West. Friday and Saturday night, Wild, Wild West. But see, they have no certain days here. Before the peace, there wasn't no certain day to shoot. Shoot when you get ready. You just shoot on a Sunday. When church getting out, it have happened.
And what was all the shooting about? Who was shooting who?
Opposition shooting oppositions. This organization shooting at this one shooting at this one, It's all about respect, You come in my church and you will get hurt. Don't walk in my church without asking me.
Before, how comfortable would you have felt standing on this corner?
Not real good.
Would you have done it?
No. No. I love my life.
And you really think if you just come down here in the middle of a sunny afternoon and stood around, you probably would have gotten shot?
Yeah. Before the truce, yeah. Shot or shot at, because, I watch all angles.
So you learned how to duck.
And then, I'm 6'5", I'm a tall target.
Were you always carrying a gun with you?
Oh, yeah. Big gun. Yeah. Because, back then, it was either kill or be killed. So, don't get me wrong, I love my life. And then, I don't like taking other people's lives, but if you know we're in situations, if they're trying to take your life, so what should I do? Protect myself and protect myself the best way I could. That's what carrying the gun.
Anybody to protect yourself?
Oh, yeah. It's not yeah, like I said, it's kill or be killed.
Do you ever carry a gun anymore?
No. I haven't, I've been carrying a gun in about a good year and a half. And it feels good. I was carrying a gun like I was the police of John Wayne somebody, so. But it had to be that way at the time, And, I wasn't the only one carrying guns, Everybody you see basically was carrying something to protect themselves.
And like last night when everybody was together, were there any guns there?
Oh, none whatsoever. No, not a gun, not a gun. You know, and it was nice that you saw Cobblestone, Viscount, the type at the same table, you know, shaking hands, congregate, eating together, you know, reminiscing about old times, this and that. It was nice.
Not everyone is ready to credit the gangs with bringing peace to Cabrini. Chicago's mayor is delighted with the drop in crime, but he refuses to acknowledge any changes in gang members' behavior.
They want to sell dope. Their money is dope. These are not, you know, these people are not going around with the Bible. These people are going around with dope, selling guns and extortion. And so when the heat is on, they know it's on, and will continue to be on.
Daley says it wasn't the gangs that brought peace. Rather, it was the $26 million in new security measures poured into Cabrini Green by the city and the Chicago Housing Authority since Dontrell Davis's death. Every building has been swept for guns. Metal detectors and security guards now stand at entrances that were once wide open. CHA Chairman Vince Lane.
I don't believe that there is a truce. I am happy that these guys are working to get individuals to not shoot up each other. And that's all I will say. I won't recognize the gangs. I just won't.
Commander Robert Guthrie is in charge of Chicago police officers assigned to the CHA. He is out in the projects every day.
There's one thing in recognizing an organization or a group, but it's one thing officially recognize them. It's another thing being standing out here in the corner surrounded by various members of gangs that are in a tinderbox situation. Certainly in that kind of situation, you're foolish not to recognize the impact these young men and women can have on the community. So it's a very realistic part of dealing with the community in Cabrini.
Guthrie supports innovative police work. He authorized the only bike patrol in Cabrini, and for these three, it was the perfect assignment. Full-time Chicago police officers, part-time rap music artists, the Slick Boys patrol Cabrini on their mountain bikes by day and make rap music videos by night. Rap with a different message.
Someone close to shot. Now the police stop to get hot. You're caught up in the gang.
Their music gives them a way to communicate with kids usually wary of police. All three grew up in or near CHA projects. Other than Guthrie, police brass were initially skeptical, but kept quiet when they saw the results. Results like the continuing peace in Cabrini.
We talked to all the different fractions in the complex and make sure everything is instilled. Plus, we see that we give them our support. And two, we break down the barrier between the police department and the gang members, because now they see the police not just as machines, but they see we're human also.
Now there are few kids in Cabrini the Slick Boys don't know, and even fewer kids who don't know the Slick Boys. Along with music, the three use sports to communicate.
Come on, ladies. Let's go.
The kids didn't know just how uneven the odds were. Eric Davis once played against Michael Jordan when Davis captained the University of Houston's 1982 winning basketball team. He also had a stint with the Houston Oilers. James Martin played his sports at West Point. Randy Holcomb at the University of Illinois at Chicago. They like the limelight, but say it doesn't matter if the gangs, the CHA, or the police get the credit for the peace in Cabrini.
I think maybe the Slick Boys are calling it the best. I think it's a project that everybody got involved in because everybody was frustrated with the killing and the drive-bys and the violence, and everyone was tired of it and everyone wanted it to stop, and everyone's working hard to keep it that way.
There's also some skepticism as about how long this will last.
Well, I tell you, 4 months ago, everyone said another week. 6 months later, they still hollering maybe another week. You know, the Slick Boys know that it's going to go on as long as we're here, you know, because like I said before, we go around, we talk to them, we ride in these bikes, we talk to the different leaders almost on a daily basis. You know, we ask what the problems might be. You know, we offer some solutions. They're out here now, you know, and they look for us. You know, so I mean, as long as Slick Boys are alive and kicking, you're gonna have peace in Cabrini.
The first big test of the truce came 8 months after Dontrell Davis was killed. On a hot midsummer night, shots rang out. 2 young men, one only 14, the other 18, were gunned down at 3:30 in the morning as they stood in the entrance to the building where Dontrell Davis had lived.
Cabrini held its breath. Was this the end of the peace? The 18-year-old who died was a gang member, the triggerman a member of a rival gang. The Slick Boys hit the streets. They wanted to know the facts, and they wanted the truce to hold.
I mean, it's about trying to keep this thing intact. And I mean, you got to do whatever you got to do to keep it intact for these shorties, you know? I mean, it'd be easy for y'all. If y'all didn't want peace, you know what you had to do? My beeper rang 25 times a day. If y'all didn't want peace, you know what? My beeper didn't have to ring at all. Y'all know how to get up in these buildings and come on down to this field and tear ass off. Y'all have been popping already. You know that and I know that. So I think somewhere in your hearts you know that ain't the right thing to do. You know? Y'all don't need no permission to start this shit back up. Y'all men. Y'all ain't starting it up because you know it ain't the right thing to do.
It costs us more lives.
Man, don't start killing our community. Don't start killing our community, and that's all it's going to do.
All day, police, community organizers, gang leaders worked to keep the lid on. They learned that the killings were the result of a love triangle. Commander Guthrie wanted the community to know that.
There was gang connotations involved here, but everyone here understands, you know, the people on the street as well as the police, that this was not a gang incident. It didn't start a gang incident. The gang truce, as they talk about, is not over. There's no gang war. This is an unrelated, separate incident. An incident could happen in any section of our city.
At first, Fred Watkins wondered if all his work on the truce had been lost.
What would the usual reaction be before the truce if something like that had happened, even though it was over a girl?
All that gang war. You know, close your windows, lock your doors, all that gang war. You know, but unfortunately, you know, people got out quickly and, you know, let it be known, no, it's not over.
Activist Marion Stamps was still nervous.
Right. See, some people don't understand that 8 months of peace may not seem like no long time for them because they have had it. But 8 months for peace for us is like 8 years. And every month, we count it as a year. You know, and when we get to 12 months, we're going to be straight.
The shooter was arrested, and the peace is still holding at Cabrini Green. Senkyu Selvey can walk through Cabrini without looking over his shoulder. This summer, the bullets he had spent much of his life ducking were gone.
Finally tonight, an update on the truce signed more than a year ago by Chicago's street gangs. Elizabeth Brackett of public station WTTW reports.
It has been a bloody 3 weeks on the streets of Chicago. 56 people killed. Like this victim, some lost their lives as a result of a wave of gang-related violence. Much of it centered in the public housing developments that stretch for nearly 4 miles along State Street on the city's south side. 3 teenagers have died here, and in one 4-day period, police logged 300 reports of shots fired. Many children have stopped going to school, and most are scared.
Yesterday I was crying.
Why?
Because I don't like them people be shooting. In 4410, they almost shot my uncle.
Is your uncle in a gang?
The recent rash of shootings terrified Sheila Easley. She lost her son to gang violence in the projects 3 years ago.
It's indescribable. You know, it's indescribable. Every time a gunshot goes off, you're scared. It brings back memories. They shot through my bedroom window the other day, and my daughter just luckily was not sleeping in the bed. You know, and it's just a fear. It's a fear every morning when you wake up. It's a fear that if you unarm your children, and everyone cannot unarm their children, but if you unarm your children, you can't send them outside. They can't go to school.
Newspaper headlines labeled the violence a gang war that signaled an end to a gang truce signed over a year ago. Last year, with the truce in effect, police say out of 851 homicides, 125, or about 1 in 7, were gang-related. Since the violence flared on March 25th, Police reports suggest that of the 56 homicides, nearly 1/3 were gang-related. Youth worker Harold Baskin had put in countless hours working with gang leaders to forge the gang truce. Now, as he makes his daily drive checking for trouble spots in his Southside neighborhood, he insists that despite the terror and the bloodshed of the last weeks, the gang truce still held.
If there were a gang war going on, or there was a truce broken, you wouldn't see these many young people out here playing in the street on a day like this. And this is not really a cold day as such per se. The sun is out, it's bright, and they feel like they can come out and maybe exercise themselves and play a little basketball, walking to the store, or just out walking and talking with their friends.
But moments later, Baskin did spot trouble.
Hey, you can't be socking on them like that, okay? Everything been okay? Everything been okay? No problems? A small incident like that oftentimes could escalate into a big incident because the smaller kid may have a bigger brother. He go home and tell his bigger uncle that a bigger boy pushed him. If the cousin is associated with an organization, he generally comes out and maybe jump on the bigger boy, and the bigger boy go home and get his brother or uncle, and it's a big hoop to do about nothing when you could have stopped it at its source.
Gang members on the north side of the city claim the truce has held up better in their neighborhoods than in the Robert Taylor homes on the south side.
We still have our peace, but Taylor's, they outrageous.
At the Cabrini Green housing development, there have been no gang-related killings since the truce. The leader of the gangster disciples on the north side says the truce continues to make a difference.
Man, a lot of it for the families, the elders, and the kids.
And that's help.
Everybody needs to get together. That's what they need to do. Everybody needs to get together and get along. That's what I think.
Truce organizer and longtime activist Marion Stamps admits that the truce has broken down in other parts of the city. But she says the gang leaders on the north side can better control their members.
You know, the leadership is more concerned about how much money they can make off of drugs as opposed to how much money they can bring into their communities to make sure that brothers and sisters get jobs, then they're going to have wars like the kind they have in Robert Taylor. You know, the question of turf, the question of drugs, you know, and that's not what happened here. I think the reason that the peace exists is primarily what that brother said, the leadership. The leadership is in control.
But neither the mayor, Richard Daley, or the head of the Chicago Housing Authority, Vince Lane, or the Chicago Police Department ever bought the idea of a gang truce. Privately, they say the only reason gangs might agree to stop shooting is to make it safer to sell drugs. Following the recent outburst of shootings, the mayor called for more police to search the housing developments for gangs, guns, and drugs.
I believe there has to be more sweeps in regards to, because the more guns you pull out, the more lives you're going to save.
Beefed up tactical response teams from the Chicago Police Department and the Chicago Housing Authority Police began all-night foot patrols in developments with the highest reports of shootings.
Do not cut down Vincennes, that's too close. Swing down King Drive and pick up 43rd Street from there.
Chicago Housing Authority patrol officers got the call last Friday night to search the Washington Park development on the south side of the city. Officers say the first few minutes of the sweep are critical.
Go. Get out of here.
Good job. One in the white, one in the white.
Wait a minute, that's my son.
How you doing, Chief? Not nothing, ma'am. Not carrying any weapons on you? No. Straight? Yeah. Okay, where you stay at? 708. 708? Okay, 1208? All right.
Do you think there's been a gang truce over the last year or so?
Not at all.
Was there a lull in the shooting?
Yes, during the winter months when it's colder and nobody's out on the streets.
But you wouldn't attribute that to any kind of a truce?
No.
Do you think there's any chance of one getting started now, a truce?
No.
Why not? Do you think the gangs just don't talk to each other, or what?
They just don't get along. As long as the money from drug profits are in one area, as long as the other gang has a smaller area, they're always going to want the other area.
CHA police found no guns Friday night. But on Saturday, a 14-year-old girl was shot in the thigh, and on Sunday night, a 32-year-old man was shot and killed here. Police had not determined if the shootings were gang-related. Back on the north side, these three Chicago police officers see their relationship to the community differently. Unlike many of their fellow officers, they supported the truce. As the truce broke in other parts of the city, they kept in touch with gang leaders in the Cabrini Green area. The three officers also tried to reach kids before they get involved in gangs. Calling themselves the Slick Boys, they bring their anti-gang, anti-violence message to the schools, coded in a language the kids understand. Rap.
'Cause I'm a black man and I try to be high.
Once they have the kids' attention, the message is tough.
Last weekend, 17 people got shot in Chicago. 16 was black. 11 was under the age of 18. We're killing each other over nothing. If you a Vice Lord, if you a Stone, if you a Cobra, if you a GD, if you a BD, you a hoe. Because what you doing, like if you like it or not, what you doing, hold on, what you doing is letting this system use you.
Back on the street, they say their act and their police work go hand in hand.
See, our situation basically is this. We're going to see you in the daytime, and we're going to give you the answers to this test. Leave these drugs alone. This is what you need to do to get away from it. Leave the gangs alone. Leave the violence alone. And once we come out here at 6 o'clock, if you haven't listened well in class, we're going to police you. And we're going to police you for your own good. Because I would rather see you incarcerated than cremated.
So in some areas of the city, children are playing ball. In other areas, they're ducking bullets. Is the truce a success or a failure? It may depend on the neighborhood.